How to win your child custody case without an attorney.
Hi, my name is Amanda Nicole. I am a woman of faith and I have had my life turned upside down by divorce. I lost my home, I lost my job, and I even lost my freedom. But God. Each and every day, I watch as God makes my enemies my footstool. Now, I'm on a journey to rebuild my life and to help other women of faith who've been impacted by toxic marriage and divorce. So, welcome to my journey towards freedom through divorce.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So, I was going over my analytics, and one of the videos that consistently keeps getting views each month is my video that I did a while ago about how to win your child custody case without an attorney. I want to do an update to that video because I've learned so much since then, and I want to make sure that the information is accurate as possible. So I want to talk about that because I want to make sure I'm giving you guys accurate information. Okay, so the short answer to your question is it does not matter whether you have an attorney or don't. I know that it's going to sound crazy because so many people are pushing this narrative of you're crazy if you go into a courtroom without an attorney. I'm just telling you, for the family court situation, you do not have to have an attorney. The bad news is that whether you have an attorney or don't have an attorney, I don't see a way for you to win your case. Okay, and that is really bad news in terms of what you're wanting to hear, but I'm just going to tell you from personal experience, for someone who has been through the family court system. I have been through it with an attorney. I had an attorney for a while. I went pro se for a while, then I went back to having an attorney. I had to go through family court with the divorce. I had to go through child custody proceedings, and I had to go through criminal court because of child custody and being held in contempt of court. So I have been through court a lot, and I've done it with an attorney and I've done it without an attorney. I even had a public defender for a while, and I'm just going to tell you that my experience was the same regardless. Okay. And so we're going to get into why that is and what my advice to you is. Basically, the first thing you have to understand is that in the Bible, there's something called the courts of heaven. The courts of heaven are where you've got the righteous judge, God presiding, and you've got Jesus as your attorney. And the righteous judge, he has seen what happened. Right? He has seen what each person in the case has done, their actions, he knows their motives. So you can't hide anything from him, right? And he has a very particular system of seed harvest. You reap what you sow. Very simple. And his rules are based on his word, the Bible. So everything's out in the clear. There's no lying, manipulating, any of that. All the cards laid out on the table, and basically the person who is aligned with scripture is going to win their case, and the person that's not aligned with scripture is going to lose their case. And it's pretty much cut and dry. So it is possible to get justice and to get a righteous verdict from the righteous judge. Okay, but that is not what you are dealing with when you are in family court. You are dealing with a court system that does not care anything about God, does not care anything about justice, what is right, what is wrong. It cares about one thing and one thing only. Well, two things. The first thing is money. Whichever parent the court feels like it's going to be able to get the most money out of is going to be the one who is going to be losing their case. Okay, the second motive of family court is harming children. They have very close ties with child psychologists, with child protective services, and all of these things. It is known that they actively supply with those two motives in mind. If you are a parent who wants the best interest of your child, you want to, you love your child and you want the best for them and you don't want them harmed, this system is not your friend. And so hence why I say it doesn't matter if you have an attorney or don't have an attorney. That is the rules that you're dealing with. Number one, who has the most money? Number two, which parent can we give this child to that's going to be the most irresponsible, so that we know this child's going to end up in child protective services, and we're going to be able to fund our, terrible things that we do with children. It's going to make me sound crazy, I understand, but stick with me. Okay. So from my experience, I'm just going to tell you, my story, the Cliff Notes version of it, because we don't want to be here all day. I had dealt with a separation, and between the separation and the actual case in terms of divorce and child custody, there was a long period of time, like 7-8 years. And so within that time period, I very much tried to see, is there a way for us to just, work this out as adults and not involve the courts, not involve, something that's I knew was going to harm our child, because I had done my research and I knew that there just weren't any success stories. There wasn't anybody saying, I'm so grateful for the court system, they just did a great job. Nobody is saying that. Everybody is saying it's horrible, don't do this. And so, but at the same time, if you're dealing with a situation where you're dealing with a parent that's not doing the best interest of the child, and they're like bullying the child, and just like trying to control you, trying to control the child, and they're just harming this child, you are left with no other option, right? You have to go seek justice from somewhere. And so the way God ordained it to be is that people would be able to go to the earthly courts to get righteous verdicts that reflected his heavenly courts. That's the way he ordained it to be. However, we talked about a couple of videos ago about church, and one of the things that church is teaching people is you settle your problems in house, so you don't want to be involved in that kind of stuff. And so as a result, the believers have abandoned the government, and there's nothing left but people who are yes men that are just going to do whatever they say do, no matter if it's right or wrong. They're just going to do it. And so it is very difficult to find someone who is wanting to do what's right. Now, this is important because if you're a believer, right and wrong is very important. If you're not a believer, you care about right and wrong, but your version of right and wrong is different than our version of right and wrong. But if you're dealing with a system that doesn't care about right and wrong, as a parent who wants, what's in the best interest of the child, that's a problem. And so I went into the system dealing with the situation where I had been solely, providing for my child and caring for her for several years. And then the tables changed to where the other parent wanted to be a little more involved. And, I knew that was going to come with the same problems that ended our marriage. And, it was going to be a problem. And it did. Over time, it became so much of a problem where I finally said, we have to do this. We're not going to be able to get no kind of peace or freedom in our lives, and you're not going to be able to have no kind of decent childhood. I'm not going to be able to have no kind of decent life if we don't do this, because this situation is untenable. So eventually I got to the point where I said, all right, I'm going to have to do this. Now, I did not want to do the court system because I just knew, like I said, there were horror stories. So my prayer was constantly, God, basically supernaturally intervene within the system where I'm able to get justice, right? I had to deal with this case for 4 years, and for 4 years, it was nothing but hell. And it was nothing but hell because, remember I told you the two things that the courts cared about. Number one, who has the most money that they feel like they can extract from. I ended up being that parent. I was the parent who was making 6 figures. So I was the parent that the court felt like we can get the most money out of her. And so I became the person that they attacked. Now, so even though I was going to court with I literally had an entire suitcase of paperwork, evidence proving that I was the best, parent to care for the child, that the other parent had this issue that would make them, not the best interest. All of the, documentation from schools and other, doctors, all saying this child's been negatively affected because of these actions by this parent. Like literally it should have been an open and shut case. And I'm not talking about, evidence that's not admissible or you didn't put it in the right format. Like I did my research, I dotted my I's, I crossed my T's. I had everything I needed to have. However, again, court does not care about best interest, not best interest, best parent, not best parent. They don't care about that. They care about money. So even though I went to court and had all of the information that I needed to be able to say this is an issue, they ignored it. They did not care about any of it. It was literally, I literally handed the information to the judge. It was like, flip, what else you got? Like, didn't care. So that's one thing of it. Okay, the other thing of it is that the other side was able to present evidence that wasn't evidence, that was just lies, that was made up documents, and the judge treated that as if it was the Bible and didn't ask any questions and didn't want to see any of my evidence that would have directly proved this is a lie, right? So it was at that point when I realized they don't care about the best interest of the child. And so I became, concerned about, well, what do they care about? Because, right, if you're a parent and you're coming there because you want justice and you want the best interest of your child and you want your child to be able to have a good life and that kind of thing, but that you're going to a court system that doesn't care about that, what do you do? What do you do with that, right? And so I quickly tried to, understand what is it that they did care about. And that's when I went down the rabbit hole and found what I just told you, which sounds crazy, but it's the truth. So after that, I began to pray, like I said, for God to make supernatural changes where, I would have a court day and I would say, God, open the judge's eyes so he can see that the lies, the opposing counsel that just is like Jezebel is not able to like control the courtroom. And I was praying those kinds of prayers because I didn't know what else to do. There just wasn't anything else to pray. Like you don't know what else to do when you find out that that's the case, right? And so even when it got to the situation where, the case and me having to put all my money into lawyers and stuff like that had ripped me of like everything. Like I didn't have money, I didn't have a home, I didn't have anything. Even when it got to that point, I still had the other strike against me of I was the best parent for the child, right? So if we give the parent to her, like we're not going to be able to like get the child through this demonic system we got going on, because she's a good mom. So even though, and now she might be the one that doesn't have the money, she's still the best person. So either way, we can't side with her. And so that's what it became. And so, this is why I say it doesn't matter if you have an attorney or don't have an attorney. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to, you do have the parents out there that pretend like they don't have any money or they quit their job, whatever, trying to be the person that doesn't have the money. But at the end of the day, unless you want to become a bad parent and like do bad stuff to your kid, like, no, you're not trying to do that. I'm not advising you to do that. So you have to refocus your attention. Okay. Instead of asking the question, am I going to be able to win this case without an attorney? Or how do I win this case without an attorney? You have to ask, how do I get a righteous verdict? And I truly believe that the reason why my case took as long as it took is because it took me the first 3 or 3.5 years before I started asking that question, right? Because I was very much asking what you're asking, and I had to go through having an attorney, not having an attorney, and seeing the difference, that there wasn't really a difference, to realize I'm asking the wrong questions and I'm putting my energy and effort towards the wrong thing, right? And so I'm going to tell you this. There's advantages and disadvantages to both having an attorney and not having an attorney. Here's what they are. I hope you're enjoying this video. It started to get a little bit too long, so I'm going to split it up into another part. So stay tuned tomorrow for part 2. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you on your journey to freedom.